are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. A quarter after midnight, and I'm watching the wall. Sometimes I feel so uptight, I just can't sleep at all. Every day doing the same old thing, we're losing time. The weekend comes, we gotta have some fun and rewind. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. I feel the rope tightening, choking off our air. We need to grab some lightning. Friday's almost here. Caught in a web, we need to cut this thread we're hanging by. Where is it said you have to be half dead to survive? These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder.
And there it be. It is time for us to get this show a-rolling.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for WordPress plugins A to Z, not Z.
It's interview 81, and in this episode for WP Plugins A to Z, we have Marcin Dudek, who breaks down the back-end realities and front-end caching layers frequently masked on production WordPress sites, all coming up on WordPress Plugins from A to Z. WordPress, the king of content management systems, powering the web with over 80,000 plugins to choose from. How do you sort the junk from the gems? Welcome to WP Plugins A to Z, where we've been keeping the pulse of WordPress alive for over 16 incredible years. Join us every week for an unrehearsed, real talk breakdowns of the latest and greatest plugins, developer and community member interviews. Some weeks, Amber and I team up to dig in. Others, I'm flying solo, unpacking WordPress news, demoing a standout plugin, or sharing tips to power up your site. No scripts, no fluff, just the good stuff from A to Z. So plug in and let's get rolling. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be hiding out there on the globe today. Coming to you direct from the brewery overlooking beautiful southern Vancouver Island. I'm John Overall, and this is WP Plugins A to Z interview show. And remember, it is a value for value show where you can support it with the 3 T's, time, talent, or treasure, or skip on over to the website and join the newsletter. And in today's show, we are thrilled to have Marcin Dudek, a Wrocław, Poland-based WordPress developer with over 15 years of experience, specializing in high-traffic sites, plugin architecture, and back-end performance. Marcin previously served as CTO and co-owner at CreativeMinds, from approximately 2010 to 2024. During that time, he built and maintained more than 50 commercial plugins. He now runs his own company, We Got This, where he develops and ships practical tools, including WP Multitool, which we'll be talking about in-depthly today, Fix WP, MakeWPFast, and my favorite name, Why Does My Site Suck? Marcin's work focuses on identifying and resolving measurable back-end bottlenecks rather than relying on common front-end assumptions. And that is who we have. And welcome to the show, Marcin. I'm butchering your name, and I'm sorry. I tried to get it right.
That's fine. It's Marcin. Hello, everyone.
All right. Well, let's talk. Let's get going here first off. Now, as I mentioned in your little intro bio, you've got 15 years in the WordPress community, including a long stretch over at CreativeMinds as the CTO, where you worked on, shipped, and maintained over 50 plugins. I'm not even sure what plugins were over at CreativeMinds myself. What shifted when you decided to move to building your own independent tools under We Got This? Why did the mind shift? Where you just get tired of the corporate grind?
It wasn't a corporate, and I've pretty much built the CreativeMinds from the ground. I started as a developer, and I rose to the rank of CTO over time. So I wasn't CTO from the beginning, because when I started working there, and that's how my whole WordPress adventure started. From a PHP developer to a WordPress developer. On one probably summer day, I just got an invitation to build a plugin. I didn't have any idea of what WordPress is back then, and then I just I told David that I can do that, and I did. And turned out it wasn't that hard. It was very, very fun, and I kept doing the same thing for next 14 years. But I think at some point we started running into differences with CEO, and I thought, okay, I want to try things my way, like completely my way, like without having anyone above me or next to me.
Right.
And that's why I stepped down from being a CTO and created my own company, and I created WP Multitool as my first commercial plugin of
the which one?
WP Multitool.
Oh, the Multitool. Okay,
yeah.
that was your first. That was your first major project that you brought forward.
Like there was the Fix WP was sometime along the way, but it was more of a experiment than a serious business. But WP Multitool was something that I started working on 3 years ago.
Right.
And only after leaving CreativeMinds, I had enough time to spend on it, to polish it enough to make it a commercial plugin in my mind. So previously it was my internal tool I was using when I was optimizing sites.
Very cool.
And then I white labeled it, and I thought, if it's useful for me, maybe it's useful for someone else.
Yeah. Chances are, if it's useful for you, there's at least a handful of people that it's useful for. Now, your bio that I didn't fill out completely when I read it all out, but in your bio history, you are listed as a WordPress core contributor, core performance contributor. When you're doing that kind of work, how did that work help you work towards creating the WP Multitool?
It's a paradox, because fixing the performance of the core WordPress undermines my business, because WP Multitool is a performance plugin, like performance related plugin. So if WordPress was perfectly performant, like everything was as optimized as possible, I would lose like some of the mode.
Right.
Thankfully, WordPress is much more than the core. Core is
Right.
just a tiny fraction, like the foundation,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of performance problems are not really coming from the core itself.
No.
It's actually pretty good.
Uh,
So, but it allows me to understand the mechanisms. And some quirks that are there in WordPress for many, many years.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes I find as a core performance or core contributor tickets that were open like 9 years ago, 12 years ago that are related to performance,
Right.
but nobody really bothered to fix them. And sometimes it's a tiny optimization, like a couple milliseconds here and there,
Mm-hmm.
but these things compound.
Oh, yeah.
So if I can ship, a one-liner fix to that because the default is wrong, and I can just swap the default to something else, and it's like a couple of milliseconds faster from every request on every side. It's a lot of time overall.
Right. Okay. So now, with many developers out there, and in your plugin, we'll get into more details about it here, but with many developers out there that when they start having issues or loading problems on a site, I've done it myself, just reach for a caching plugin or some other front-end optimizer. How do you decide what kind of back-end diagnostics and configuration instead that would help versus just grabbing a caching plugin to solve the speed issue?
It's a complex question because front-end issues, I start usually by doing what everyone else is doing. So like running page speed insights, which is a very quick and very fast test that helps you figure out if the issues are really front-end related or back-end related, because one of the numbers there is like time to first byte. If this time to first byte is above 1 second or like 2 seconds, and sometimes it's even 4 or 16, or the page speed insight doesn't allow that at all, that the problem is not the front end or unoptimized images. The problem starts on a server somewhere. So it's either in database, in plugins, there are, we can get deeper into that, but there is a lot of possibilities. But that's with this page speed insights, I mainly distinguish between, is it a front-end issue mainly, or is the backend also involved? And then since the backend issues affect everything, so you can have the best optimized images, but if the backend, the server response is slow, then your site will load slowly, and it's the worst kind of slow, because you just open the page and nothing happens for many seconds, and people are not really very patient these days.
Right.
So if nothing happens for a couple of seconds, then they scroll back, click away, and they're gone. If it's an image that loads a bit too late, it's much easier to fix. So
yes, and running my own servers, I understand that oftentimes that time to first byte is at the server level, but there's a lot of it that's at the website level, because I'll have websites on the same server. Well, one gets blazing fast and the other takes longer.
So yeah, that's very nuanced, and I can probably talk for an hour about like how many different checks are there, and maybe later I can show some of them, some of the things that WP Multitool is actually checking.
Okay, well, let's get into talking about WP Multitool for it and find out a bit more. What is WP Multitool? I've only peripherally looked at it at this point. I've been rather busy the last few weeks. But tell us all about WP Multitool and why people want to have it. Describe what it does.
Okay, so as you mentioned, the initial thought about when someone has a slow site is to turn on caching. So there are very popular options for that. I think I won't name them, so no, they are kind of competition. So I will avoid that. But I found out that when I was asked by clients of Creative Minds that to optimize their sites, they often already had this caching plugins enabled, and their sites were still slow. That's because caching only works if everything is preloaded into the cache. So when it's actually cached and not when the caches are stale or purged or on the pages that cannot be cached, like e-commerce sites. So most of the I found that most of the time cache is not really working because it's good for static sites. It's good for sites that do not change very often, but it's on most of the sites that are earning money, which is e-commerce and company sites.
Right.
There are forms, there are things that are dynamic, and these things cannot really be cached. So I started digging. Long story short, I started digging. Why are they slow in the first place? So and as you mentioned, sometimes even on the same server, there is a fast side and there is a slow side, and they can have the same version. They can have similar plugins, but still, like one of them is way slower than the other. And I started discovering the patterns. One of the patterns I found is that overall sites that are older tend to be slower than the new sites. So like when you create a site, you install a couple of plugins, it's typically quite fast at the beginning. The slowness starts building up, and over years, sites usually get slower and slower and slower. So I've started digging why it's happening, and discovered a couple of weird things. And this is coming from the WordPress core actually. That the plugins you install, they store options. Like all of them have some kinds of options. Like some of them are open, some of them are hidden, but they are all stored in the same table, WP options.
Right.
Well, option table, regardless of the prefix. And for some reason, by default, if a plugin developer, like a fresh plugin developer, like I'm guilty here because I haven't known about that, is adding an option to the plugin, it's working out of the box because it's auto-loaded, which means that whenever a WordPress starts, it loads this value from the database.
Right.
Like always. And which means that the more plugins you install, the more data is being loaded into RAM every request. And sometimes it's just a string, but sometimes there are plugins that are loading, I don't know, a huge table or like a huge JSON object into the options because they need it for one of their features.
Right.
A lot of plugins are also not removing the options when they are being deleted or deactivated. Well, on deactivation, they usually assume that it's temporary, so like we are not cleaning up the options. But on deletion, like nobody cares. Like you deleted my plugin. No, you keep the options maybe for the future. So on one of the client sites, at some point last year or 2 years ago, I checked. I found that I was using Query Monitor back then, a lot, like as most of people who are doing the optimization, and I found out that on the WP admin request, like the dashboard, the first screen you load when you log in as admin, there was one query that took, I think it was like 10 seconds, and it was loading, I I believe it was like 6 MB of data because it loaded pretty much
That's
every
was that an auto load? 6 MB?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it
I
was,
actually
yeah.
I actually ran across that recently cleaning up a database. It was like had a 6-7 MB auto load. It was insane. Once I cleaned that up, wow, did I get some speed out of the site?
Yeah, that's that immediately like cleaning it up, and it you can it's usually smart to autoload some of the options for at least for it's smart to do it for the plugins that are
Yeah.
active are currently active on the site, but it's better to at least not autoload the options for plugins that you have not used for for the past 4 or 5 years, and you're never planning to do that again.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's how one of the modules.
Well, let's talk
for the Multitool.
about another module that kind of interests me is your slow query analyzer module for the Multitool. What is that one? What kind of explain how it works to help you find and optimize your database.
Okay, so this is something that I also remembered about my university lessons from from creating databases and writing queries. That there is except for select, insert, update, there is also a feature of MySQL called explain. And what it does is that you can prefix every query you do for database with explain, and it pretty much tells you what kinds of indexes. No, it's very technical here, so sorry about that. But it basically explains what the query does, and for example, which indexes it uses, or that it's missing some of the indexes. So it has to look for a value. Let's say you're looking for some ID in a table, and you have 1,000,000 rows, and if there is no index, the query has to scan through all the rows one by one until it finds it.
Right.
If there is an index, it's basically one operation. Just grabs an index, and it knows where it is. So explain allows you to see that for this kind of query, there is an index or there is no index that can be used, and it's again a massive speed up. If there is a long query, or you have 1,000,000 rows because you have a huge shop with many orders, just adding a few indexes to the right tables, it's again massive speed up.
Okay, now there's another module that I find is interesting here. Is called find slow callbacks. What does that mean? I don't even recall running across that term before.
But you know that WordPress uses hooks systems, right? Actions.
The hooks and actions.
Yeah. So what the functions that are connected to hooks or actions. One of the names you can use is callback. So whenever a hook happens, it calls some function or functions that were registered.
Okay, that makes more sense now. Just terminology, man. A lot of everything boils down to terminology and understanding it.
So it's basically find slow functions from usually from plugins. So what it does is that on every request, it utilizes the hook systems and the priority to calculate how much time does it spend on each of the filters. On init, it starts the timer at priority 1, and finishes the timer at the priority of PHP, in max, the maximal priority possible. And that's how we know that, for example, some function spends 500 milliseconds doing something on init, and then in 500 milliseconds in loading, it's half a second. Right. So it's quite a lot for one function call. And if you look at that and you look what it is, you often find that it shouldn't be even happening at all. So that's how I found a couple of broken plugins or some plugins misbehaving because I just used it on one of the queries like homepage or on the backend and found that I don't know, WooCommerce is loading its assets on
Right.
the admin page for some reason, and it takes half a second.
Okay. All right. And another module you have for this WP Multitool is called Plugin Performance Score. Can you enlighten me as to what that is? Like you make mention it uses MakeWPFast benchmarks, but I don't know much about that area. Just kind of explain that for me and all the audience out there.
Okay, so I'll start by explaining what the MakeWPFast was and like what was the idea. And the idea is that there is 60 something thousand plugins in the WordPress repository, the free
Yep.
plugins
Yep.
of various quality and age and support level. And I started writing about the performance of WordPress overall. There was this notion every time that the performance degradation comes with the amount of plugins, and it didn't match my experience. So I started looking into the problem and started asking myself, okay, did anyone actually measure that? Like, so if the amount of plugin changes anything. I didn't find any research or benchmarks or anything like that. So I thought, using AI, I can do it. I can just create a benchmark lab that will run the same environment locally, install a plugin a couple of times, and measure a couple of metrics about every plugin that's out there. That is, how many database queries it adds, how many megabytes of RAM it adds on average, and how much time it adds to loading of 3 different pages, like homepage, admin page, and shop page on WooCommerce. So over a couple of months, I've done all of them. It took, the computer was running all the time for many days, and I did manage to benchmark all of them. And that's how I got to scores of plugins. So it turned out that most of the plugins are actually pretty good. They don't natively, at least on these pages, in these cases, they don't add much performance degradation,
Right.
so to speak. But some of them do, and do quite a lot. But then I thought, okay, I have this data. I've created API. I could connect my two tools together, and now when someone has a WP Multitool installed, they can look at their plugin list and they can see, okay, this plugin is fine, this plugin is fine because they have like score A or score from 0 to 100. So the green plugins are usually fine. Like, you don't even have to worry about them being activated, even if you're not really actively using them. But if you see an orange one or a red one and you're not using it, you're usually better off like deactivating because this affect the performance quite a lot most of the time.
All right. Well, at this point here, we had talked back and forth a few times about you showcasing a few things. Are you ready to try and see if we get the screen share to work and show off what you want to do? Show off a little bit about WP Toolkit?
Yeah, I have a plugin installed on the demo side, which is deliberately unoptimized, and it has a couple of heavy plugins installed, but it's on a fast server, so it's not. I'm looking for a demo side for that. That would be really slow. I couldn't find one.
Yeah, that's all right. We don't have to worry too much about something that's slow to show it off. I just want to see a little bit of the back end of it. I don't have the plugin installed anywhere. I could easily do it here.
Yeah, I can I can definitely show you how the plugin looks from the backend, and do a quick demo of a couple more of the 19 modules that I have.
Yeah. So you can go ahead and you can click the little share button over there on the top of the thing and share the particular window for what you've got. And then we'll pass it along to those that are watching on YouTube. And for those listening in the downloads, listening to the regular podcast part, come on over to YouTube and then you'll get to see this. There you go. Okay, it's being shared.
All right. So, so this is the typical WordPress demo.
Yeah.
Let's go to WP Multitool and let's start. So,
okay.
This is the main section,
right.
The main screen. It's just a list of all of the modules. One of the things that I wanted to do with the plugin is that whenever you are not using something, it's something wrong.
Oh, just broke the share.
Okay, let me break it. Here.
There we go.
So if someone doesn't want, one of the systems, they can just disable them easily. And as you can see, they are right away being removed from the menu.
Excellent.
It's thanks to quite a cool library called Datastar. So shout out to Datastar creators for doing that. And so it works both ways, and it allows to make very highly dynamic things. So no reloads here, and it also allows to do top level menu switch to tool sub menus, and it should. No, this doesn't work without reload. But but basically, there was a client that asked me to be able to move between these two, and since I didn't want to force my preference to anyone, that's what I did. So this is quick.
Let's see a couple of the tools in action. Pick one like the slow query analyzer that we were just talking about.
Okay, slow query analyzer is here. So this is how it looks. So it works autonomously, and it detects slow queries based on the settings here. So there is a threshold of the queries that it needs to catch and store. So depending on your need, it's good to start with something like this even, and then it will get less. Depending on the use case, it can be tweaked.
Okay.
And then for each of the queries, it shows health. So for example, I set it for demo perspective to catch more than one. I set it low, so it's a perfect score pretty much. Perfect health, 10 milliseconds. That's fine. That's a perfect query.
Okay.
Here we have some that are more concerning. And here we have queries that are that take longer.
Yeah, a big slow one that looks like 3 or 1.4 milliseconds. That's a second and a half almost.
For a query. That's,
so what does someone do once they have this information? What do we do with the information?
If the score is very high, there's nothing you can do around here, because these were optimized tables. These were supposed to take this much, but there are sometimes I don't. Yeah, there is a score 8. If there is something you can do, there is a number here, so we can click on that, and this basically does the explain result. So internally it uses the explain. It tells user what can be fixed about this plugin, or why it cannot be fixed. So
and it tells you where it's coming from and what's causing it. In case it was found, because I didn't want it to slow down
the tool itself.
Right.
So often, it can't really pinpoint which plugin was using which plugin called or originated this query. If it's a typical one like WooCommerce,
Right.
it will be assigned to WooCommerce. Sometimes,
Right.
if it's just a plugin, it doesn't really matter where this query is. It matters that it doesn't have an
Okay.
index. And if let me try to find. I think there is a better example. So there is a problem that this specific query is using file sort, which it's not always a problem, but
Right.
it is slow for large sets. Large meaning hundreds of thousands, or if not millions of rows. So
Right.
I tried to make the plugin actionable. So it allows you to apply one of the two indexes from here, which is running an SQL query, create index, like the one you can see here. Since the tool is intended for WordPress users, power users that know what they are doing, you can really run it from here. If you understand what's going on and you recognize this query,
Right.
you understand that creating this index will help in this specific case. So you can just click apply
Excellent.
index, confirm it, and then this index is created. And so from
cool.
now on, this query should behave better in the future. Like you can do it for both of them.
Yeah.
And you have this query, and the number goes up, and this problem is solved.
Excellent.
And,
That can be very useful for people. Now, one of the other modules here that I found really fascinating is the plugin performance one, because that one there is going to be a curiosity. Does it work? Now, you were comparing it to your tool you made for MakeWPFast.
Mm-hmm.
Does it just use data from what you've collected there, or does it say somebody wrote their own plugin? Does it look at a custom plugin that doesn't exist in the index and give you an idea on what that plugin is doing?
No. That would be very, very complex.
Okay.
So no, I'm just using my own data. So
I just wanted to clarify that, because it sounded like an interesting aspect to go down. All right, so show us a little bit about the plugin performance module on there.
See, the sharing is broken again. Let me try. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, so let's go to plugins. Right, the plugin performance score. This is the one you meant, right?
Okay, so it shows it in the plugin list area.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's I figured, okay, that's where you're looking at all of the plugins like at once. Like every other screen would be weird. So I thought, okay, that's the natural way to put it. So
that's okay. You got a really good example there with Elementor and pulling in 50 queries. Now, explain that little bit there of the queries. So it's got a 50 next. Is that a 50? Yeah.
This one is
42.
70.
70.
Or
Okay.
this one is.
So what can we do with that little tidbit of information? Does it lead us somewhere else to help us understand something more? What else do we got here?
Unfortunately, about this one, you can't do much. Like, well,
no, it's WooCommerce, man. It's WooCommerce has got a whole ton going on. Could be worse.
Yeah,
it
so
could be Jetpack.
That's suddenly like, this one is Elementor. So there are like two of the most popular plugins out there.
Yeah.
Their scores leave a lot to a lot of room for improvement, and I'm pretty sure the creators of these plugins are actively working on improving the performance, but it takes time because they are huge and very every change to any of these plugins will affect millions of people.
Yeah.
So the changes are slow.
It's got to be done carefully. I thoroughly understand that. I've been around WooCommerce since it was first introduced, and Elementor. I didn't become an Elementor user until it's been around a couple of years. I've been using WooCommerce since day one when we needed an actual functioning e-commerce store, and WooCommerce fit the bill. That was back when they were still based in Africa.
So yeah, that's something that shows you that if you deactivate these two plugins, you can expect about 100 plugins less on a typical request on the homepage or on the back.
So this information can be used as a way to help determine, do I really need this plugin? What kind of performance would I get if I got rid of it? Okay.
Exactly.
That's a very useful way to look at it. If it's like you're looking at an e-commerce site and you use Elementor, well, you can't remove those. What else could I feasibly go through and say, I don't need this super cache or this other one, whatever
importer, because these things are tiny, like only 4 megabytes, or only you can think that it's only 7 queries, but if you're aiming for a very high performance site, this really compounds, and so it's worth getting used to, even if it's just a couple of queries.
Okay. Well, that's quite fantastic. All right, so that's a good showcase. Whoa. Something just happened with your screen. You still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm going to transition out of that. Your screen just went all crazy. You can close your screen share.
All right.
Suddenly all I had was colored lines coming from you.
Let's up here.
There we go. Perfect. Excellent. All right. So we made reference to your MakeWPFast plugin. We're going to transition a little bit out here as we move towards the end onto your other items you've got going. Now, the MakeWPFast, what prompted you? You touched on it briefly about what prompted you to go in and find out about the plugins and the data, but can you expand upon that and tell us a bit more why you benchmarked all the plugins over at the WordPress repo?
There were two initial reasons. Like, one of them was that I needed this data. I wanted this data, and I couldn't find it. So nobody could tell me that that this plugin is slowing down the site, but the other one doesn't. So I just took a shot and then did all of them, because it could be automated. I knew that it could be automated, and that would be fun experiment to get all of this data, and data is becoming valuable in my mind. Like, that's having this kind of data is really good thing, because it allows me to do more things about that. And the other reason was that I wanted to have an SEO resource. Like, I wanted to play with the concept that was it's called like programmatic SEO. So I wanted to have a website that has a lot of pages. So I could potentially do something with this large amount of content to see how Google will what Google would do with that, and if they will be indexed at all or not. And these were initial reasons. Then it turned out that that's actually useful for WP Multitool, and it's also taught me a lot about how to set up experiments like that with with AI, like how can I make my computer like permanently connected, updating the live site online with AI. You've
mentioned it a few times, so it sounds like you're using AI an awful lot now, like most of us are. Have you found it very useful in what you're doing and improve your work?
I think it allowed me to parallelize a lot of work and do a lot of experiments, because we can only really focus on one thing at a time, as humans, like deeply focus. While I can set 9 to 12 different terminal windows, and each one of them could be working on a separate thing at the same time. And besides these few plugins and tools we mentioned, I have plenty more. I'm doing client work and doing other stuff as well. So I'm doing all of that but then at once. So like I'm switching between windows and contexts quite a lot,
Right.
using voice. So it's like I'm talking with a bunch of people, and it's that sacrificing some of the in-depth analysis.
Right.
I could do like many more things. So at some point I still have to go deeper into a problem, because AI is far from it hasn't solved all of its own problems, or
Right.
all of the programming problems, despite of what people say.
Sometimes it creates
But
more.
it creates quite a few of its own. But it allowed me
Excellent.
to create a lot of these things which I
Yeah.
just wouldn't have time to get into, basically.
Okay, now you've released some public performance guides covering MySQL, PHP, FPM, etc. I probably need to go find those because they might be helpful to me. But the question is what server level changes have you produced that will help produce the largest consistent gains across sites that you've worked on or audited?
I actually found two interesting sets, like stacks for WordPress sites. So myself, I've been using Apache servers for the longest. Like all of the CreativeMinds sites were on Apache.
Yeah.
Then I moved to Nginx over time. And I started tweaking the Nginx configs, found out that the default configs are not really set for high performance servers. So the defaults are for Raspberry Pi computers, and not for 2 gigabytes of RAM computer. And then I found Lightspeed and a thing called Franken PHP. So I realized that there is plenty of things to even start with, like to run PHP on. And at one point I created the demo server for the Franken PHP, which is Kadi based PHP, which is interesting because it's like the idea is that PHP doesn't wake up for every request, it just keeps running, and so WordPress is always loaded, and it just serves the request, like goes. No, that's half of the thing instead of the whole thing, basically, like
Right.
without getting into details. But then I compared it to Lightspeed, and highly optimized Lightspeed server with, basically ask AI to take all of the guides out there, apply all of the possible combinations of them on the server, and found out that with the right sets of settings, it's even faster than the Kadi one, the Franken PHP. So and the differences were really staggering. I can have a WordPress WooCommerce store with over 500 products loading under 1 second.
Holy smokes.
And I have live demos for those. And I'm playing with that still, and optimizing the themes and things like that. But it's really, really, really fast if you set the server correctly. And
I know I'm in the process of retweaking some of my servers, but might have to discuss some of that with you later. All right, so as we roll down here, now you've rescued production sites in the past from whatever problems they have. What kind of reoccurring patterns did you see? Were the like auto load bloat, misconfigured defaults, plugin conflicts, etc.? What kind of reoccurring patterns do you see when you're rescuing a site that has gone to the point of you can barely get to the dashboard?
Yeah, frankly, all of them, because
Yeah.
the all of the ones you've mentioned and more.
Well,
Because
something beyond the general, like the auto load, the misconfigured default, and the plugin conflicts. Those are almost standard. But what other patterns hide in the background that not all of us see, or that people don't think about until later, after
okay,
they've gone through this and they still have problems? They go, well, what am I missing?
one of the biggest things is object cache. So there are servers that there are multiple levels of cache, and object cache is, from my experience, the one that is the biggest contributor to speed, and it's on the back end. So it's not related to caching the content of the site. It's related to the execution of the PHP code. It's basically like compiling the code and compiling the data that this site is doing. So it can generate the sites way faster
Okay.
than either. So it doesn't go through, run the PHP, do all the queries. It just, okay, so you requested a shop, I'll give you the shop from, I have it ready in here. So just load it from the RAM, and it's blazing fast. So that's the biggest thing. Some of the other things are, for example, if the object is enabled, but it's still slow, sometimes it's misconfigured. And for example, you have plenty of plugins, right? They want to update pretty much every day. Like one of them is having some kind of an update, and to get an update, they need to call some other site, out, either WordPress or the plugin developer,
Right.
and these queries take time. And if the object cache is misconfigured, it's supposed to save this information that, okay, there is a new version or there is no new version for this plugin. If the cache is broken, it keeps checking it every single request. And over time, it's first it's like one call, then it's another 2 calls, 3 calls, but then you sometimes get to 15 different calls because you have so many plugins, and each even if they are partially done at the same time, it stacks, and you're waiting like 12 seconds every time to just get the information that there is a new version of the plugin, or that there is no. So fixing, and this is one of the things that once you know that this is a problem and you fix the object cache, you save like 12 seconds of every load on every page and every request. So that's one of the most recent findings I got, and that's one of the most recent modules I've added to the WP Multitool. That's
Okay.
find and solve these kind of things.
That's excellent. All right. Well, this is the point here where we give you the option to tell everyone about where they can find you and what they can find out about your, where they can find your product and go get it. And it's definitely one that I'm going to go play with because I want to use it on a couple of sites that I have.
Yeah, I'm glad that I managed to convince you that.
Well, no, I've been wanting to do it, but as I said, my last 2 weeks have been extremely busy. I launched a major project the last couple of weeks, and actually 2 projects in the last couple of weeks. I've launched 2 major projects that I've been working on for months, so that takes up a lot of time at launch time. Especially when you get it launched and they always come back, hey, this ain't working. Hey, this ain't working. Hey, it needs this. And it's like, and then of course I've been batting away bots at an incredible rate on my servers. The bots since AI, the bots seem to have quadrupled in the amount they come after your websites, and in particular, they've decided that every website that has an events calendar needs to have 10,000 bots thrown at them. Because the events calendars produce those never-ending queries, the ones that have no end loop. They just keep looping.
True. So, like, where to find me? Like, I'm the most active. Like I'm active on X. That's where I'm the most active. But you can find me also on LinkedIn and on Reddit. But my main website is marcindudek.dev.
Yeah.
I have it here.
That's all right. I've got it all showcasing now. All I had to do is go to your X profile, and boom, there it is.
Yeah. So
all these links will be in the show notes too, folks. just so you know.
Yeah.
And the show notes will be up
So-
in a few hours after the show.
So you can find like pretty much all of the information about me and about all of the products and projects I'm doing. You can book a consultation with me from here. Find the reviews from my freelancing days, which are I'm still doing some freelancing, but less and less with the growing products. And yeah, if anyone wants to, like, I'm really open to like any kinds of one of the things to one of the ways to contact me is actually through the chat on the site. So in the lower right corner you have this chat icon on WP Multitool. Sorry.
Multitool.
Was
Oh,
it?
there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, right
Yeah.
there.
So it's also like one of my own tools I built for myself, and you can send a message from there, and I get it on my Telegram. So it's not AI, it's direct chat to me. So
And if
it's
you're
also
looking
pretty
for some fun, go check out his 147 repos over on GitHub.
good. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff there, folks.
Yeah, some of them are like just the website I've created for local businesses as demos, but yeah, there is a lot of fun stuff out there. Like two of the optimization tools for Lightspeed and for Nginx, and yeah, a bunch of other AI skills, for example, are really good that I can recommend.
Perfect. Well, thanks a lot, Martin. And we greatly appreciate you taking the time up and staying up so late, because you're located halfway across the globe from me. Middle of the afternoon here, nice and evening, late night for you. So I greatly appreciate you taking the time and staying up for this.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
And for all those listening, we're going to play the extra and a little bit of music, and then we will be out of here. So we're going to let our girl take us on out right now, and we'll be back in a few. Don't run away, okay?
Reminders for the show. All the show notes can be found at wppluginsa2z.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the newsletter for more useful information delivered directly to your inbox. WP Plugins A to Z is a show that offers honest and unbiased reviews of plugins created by you, the developers, because you support the show. Help keep the show honest and unbiased by going to wppluginsa2z.com/donate and set the donation level that fits your budget. Help us make the show better for you by subscribing and reviewing the show through your favorite podcast app. You can also watch the show live on YouTube at WP Plugins A to Z, and remember to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of all new videos. You can also follow the show on X at WP Plugins A to Z. John can be reached directly through the website wpproatoz.com or email him at john@wppro.ca. Amber can also be contacted through the website at wpproatoz.com or email her directly, amber@wppro.ca. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.